Good day to you and welcome to another Together We Thrive series. Today, our topic is So, you want to be in PR? And I have with us today Mr. Ravindran. Mr. Ravindran has been in PR for about more than 30 years, yes. Welcome, Mr. Ravi. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you so much, and good morning to all, and thank you so much. It's a privilege.
I'm actually interviewing Mr. Ravi so that he can share his experience as a PR professional. Yeah, and this is especially for students who are doing their um, degree in public relations or those who want to embark a career in public relations. You will get a better idea of what the job entails. Yeah, very quick intro on Mr. Ravi. He is a poet, a certified trainer, a social worker, columnist, strategic communications practitioner, fellow of the Institute of Public Relations Malaysia, and IAP member of Taylor's University. Yeah. And Mr. Ravi, over to you. Could you tell us something about yourself, as in your family and hobbies?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sumati, for this opportunity. I think PR is a growing industry or a business, and this is a great platform that you're creating, especially for the aspiring ones. And I'm glad to be one of them to share my experience working in the industry for 30 years, as right said. I'm a computer man, actually. I started off with City and Guilds of London in computer programming. I
Mm-hmm.
joined a multinational called Motorola many years ago. Motorola is the place where I met my wife too, by the way.
Okay.
And yeah, and from Motorola, when I started into computer operations, then I joined a bank where I started doing operations come programming. Um, Actually, at the bank is when I realized that I am not a person made for machines. Um, the approach, the flair, the liking uh, was all totally different to what my job is. And so, I had a very wonderful cousin. His name is Sridhar. And when I went out with him for a chat, and he said, Ravi, do what you like rather than what you asked to do. I mean, it's easier said than done, but he was very convincing. So that's when I checked out Institute of Public Relations in Malaysia was offering programs called Certificate in Public Relations, followed by Diploma in Public Relations. So I went in and, I went full gusto. Remember, I was working. It was very challenging. Office hours, non-office hours, going for classes, coming back. And you had a tough boss who was always monitoring what time you were in, what time you were out. But I tell you, it's all worth it. And the diploma with IPRM was also recognized as for entry level for the Masters in Communications with Stirling University Scotland. So I pursued my postgraduate program with them. And I was very fortunate to find myself working with the Institute of Strategic and International Studies, which is called IS Malaysia. Not the wrong IS, it's a good one, Malaysian government's think tank. And I joined as a public affairs executive with them. And I had a 7.5 years of wonderful time in public relations, and management, diplomacy, all the things you name it. And that was where everything started. And yes, I've got three beautiful children, one handsome brother, and two beautiful girls, and a very beautiful wife. And my success, of course, is attributed to many people. I think my family, topmost or the highest award they have, because my wife has been extremely supportive of myself in doing everything, not only work or studies or even social service, because I spent a good 80% of my time outside when I was really pursuing my career, of course, social services, my hobbies, and such. So it's a wonderful composition of all great things that brought me here today and where I am now. Yeah.
That's very interesting, and your personal life where you met your wife, and all your
Yeah.
journey, it has been wonderful. Yeah, and I
Thank
used
you.
to see your name in the back in those days. Your used to be with Inda Water, I think, at one point of time.
Alam Flora. Alam
Yes,
Flora.
Alam Flora. Yes, Alam Flora. Sorry, and your name would be there in the New Straits Times, along with names like Madam Siu Yong Yanalingam. So these are household names
Yes.
for me.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So how is working from home during this pandemic, MCO?
This pandemic has actually taught me one thing, that is, men, guys are not made for multitasking. So I used to always be envious of one cousin sister of mine who's based in Penang. She's a big time person in the MNC. I used to always tell her that, hey, it's so lucky to be home and working and all that. But now I know what it is. Because when you're at home, um, you have so many things to look into. I mean, you're a lady, I'm sure you know better than I do. Of course, my wife is also at home. The food is on time on the dining table, but the amount of things that goes in to get the food here on the table,
Yep.
which I really didn't do, because I stopped at buying the groceries and leaving it at the dining. I don't even go to the kitchen. So now I see, when I'm at home, I can see how uh, complicated is the process, though it looks so simple. Though I sit down in this table and say, hey, this is nice, that's not nice. Being a Malayali man is even worse. you know, yeah. So, but I think it has taught me how to appreciate uh, everything, everyone who's close to me, my daughters. My
Mhm.
son is, I mean, not with us, he's in UK, so I don't really see him or talk to him, but we only talk over the Skype. Now I appreciate everything that my daughters do for me and my wife and even my neighbors. It's actually God has reasons for everything, and I think this COVID microbe or virus too has a reason for a human being and a human being like me, because we always took many things for granted.
Yes.
But working from office is different. Working from home is different. But duties are meant to be fulfilled. But it's challenging to fulfill when you're at home because so many things. Like in the case of the pet,
Mhm.
when I was earlier in another video conferencing, he is so close. He came next to me and he sat next to me, and he wants to be next to me.
Mm.
In this case, I make sure he's outside the room. So it's very interesting, very challenging, but it's fun though. It's fun.
And you get home cooked food every day.
Almost every other day. Yeah, today no food because my wife told that we have to cater because she has got two teleconferences also
Okay.
today, morning and afternoon. So, but 9 out of 10 days, yes, it's home cooked. It's fresh and good. Yeah,
And that's the plus point of working from home, right?
definitely a big plus point, and of course, the waistline has tremendously progressed without
Yeah.
asking.
So we got to
you
flatten
know,
that curve as well.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, it's very important to discipline yourself, especially when it comes to satisfying the 3-inch organ called the tongue. Huh? It's very, very challenging because everything is so close by, um, and it's so good. It feels good. It tastes good. So you know,
Okay. Um, Now let's go to PR. You have been in PR for more than 3 decades. So what is PR to you?
actually, PR is a wonderful gift to the world. Public relations is a gift because this is where we make a service or a product or even a persona into what it should be in the lenses of people or in the perception on the views of people. PR is the greatest gift that is brought in by men to ensure everything that is done with a touch of finesse, whether it's a leader, whether it's a product or a service, or even something that you can't see. It is all done in such a way that it will be accepted well, it will have a good market, it will also enjoy a thing called reputation, because reputation is a key component in public relations, where uh, we all used to buying things. I still remember. I'm from a very poor family. When my dad takes me to the shop to buy my school shoes, there are two brands at that time. There's only two brands that I know of compared to today. There's one called Fun Kyong, and the other one is Bata. It's my dream to use a Bata, which I never got to use actually until Form 5 rather. But it was always Fun Kyong, because Fun Kyong is a brand, of course, a good shoes, nothing wrong with the shoes, but Bata is a name that, whether you're on the TV or whether you're on the radio or you see any signboard, those days less billboards. It is such a brand which was built around children, built around family, built around parents, built around schools. So, but I still crave, but no more cravings for Bata now. But I'm just saying a quick comparison. How did Bata get there compared to Fung Kyong? Though it's good, but it just took wherever they were. So I think that is the great value add of public relations, and that's something which now we can be measuring. We can of course measure the value it brings, but this value is what we require. Whether you are the president of the United States of America, or you're the prime minister of Malaysia, or you're somebody in Ecuador, or you're somebody in New Zealand, or anywhere in the world. So this is very important. Public relations is the one that either makes or breaks any product or service.
Okay. What is the role of public relations in an organization?
Public relations is a conduit in an organization, providing holistic value to the organization and its stakeholders. It is, of course, in my case, I represent the board. I do take the views of the stakeholder to the board. But not every comms practitioner enjoy this. But trust me, if you're a committed communications practitioner, they'll come to you, because we have this question in the PR industry, whether do you go for the board meeting? Do you represent? Do people listen to you? How are your views taken in the organization? But I think if you do it diligently and religiously, yes, you can. So it's about reputation management, stakeholder management, media relations, brand management, corporate social responsibility or CSR. All these are very, very important component of PR. And that's the role that I play in my organization when it comes to public relations.
Yes. And I think crisis management is also an integral part of PR as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. Crisis management is very, very vital, very necessary. And if you see now,
Okay.
if you see now,
Okay.
yeah. If no worries, yeah.
Sorry.
Sure, no issue.
My paper just flew away from me. Okay. Yes, for now, especially now.
Yeah, for now with the COVID-19, yeah.
Yes.
Public relations is not so much in the mind of anybody. Today,
Yes.
crisis communication is an agenda in everybody's thought, or deed or even action, because it's very important to manage this crisis. In not so much about pleasing anyone, but pleasing the country's voters, the country's administration, because everybody is looking at us, or everybody is looking at each other.
Mm-hmm.
This is not so much like the MH370 crisis that we had, where the whole world was looking at Malaysia. Everybody was commenting. You can see all the articles. Oh, they say we did this wrong, we did that wrong. But today, with COVID-19 or the coronavirus, no country is left out in this crisis. It's a pandemic crisis
Mm-hmm.
affecting the whole world, and crisis calm is the buzzword of today's parlance. Yeah.
Okay. You have been in PR since 1989 and you are still in this field. So back then, why did you choose PR?
Yeah, good question. As I said earlier, I started as a computer operations programming person, and I discovered through the help of my cousin saying that I'm a people's person. So that's when I started studying, because you can't just enter into the job market with your passion. Every passion must be supported by the right vocation or the right training. So in my case, luckily IPRM was doing the programs, and I managed to embark into the program. And it wasn't an easy entrance either. Where I remember when I went for my interview, the first interview as a PR person to IS Malaysia, my CV was the thickest, because I remember I bought a clear folder, put in all the papers, of course, the certificates and the degree and all the things were there. But over and above that, one thing that I had, which most of the candidates didn't have, was I started writing to the papers.
Mm-hmm.
The moment I decided that I want to do PR, I wrote to the letters to editor column.
Mm-hmm.
And I still remember my first letter was 1 by 1. One by one is the column size, very small, with my letter with my name R.K. Ravindran. That's the smallest piece that. But the moment I saw that in NST that morning, I was overjoyed, simply overjoyed. And I made sure I wrote at least 2 letters in a week. Mind you, I was working in computers. I'm a computer guy, but I had this very good nature of reading. I never missed to read all the magazines, all the what we call Malaysian business, newspapers, of course. And I had so much of ideas. And slowly, the 1 by 1 or the 1 by 2 column became 4 by 4, six
Wow.
by six, and 8 by 6, that's when people started recognizing me. Not because of the looks, but because of the writing skills. People saw that this is a new, or this is another view on an issue,
Okay.
whether it's a financial issue, whether it's a hygiene issue, or whether it's a crisis. They saw another issue. So I was then known as R.K. Ravindran everywhere. Everybody seemed to. I had this automatic personal branding done, which was a good feeling because I'm a computer guy.
Mm.
You, the machine, and the network is all that I know. But here you are, people seem. Then I won two. It's a in Straight Times. They had a column called Talk Back. This is a sports column where when you write good letters, they will award you with either a Milo hamper or I can't remember. There's another clothing apparel, a sports apparel hamper. So I won both the hampers, and I tell you, I was on top of the world. So these things, this letters, I compiled them. I mean, it's a good tip for everybody. Compiled it, put it in my what you call the the interview documents, the file. And when I went for the interview, I remember Tansri Nodin Sopi, the late Tansri Sopi, who was the DG of ISIS. He said, Ravi, this is the most impressive application letter and a heavy document for this job. Um, I know you're not a journalist, but I like the way you're presenting yourself because you seem to show one very important thing that I like is that's passion. I see it, you knew, and that's it. And Sumati, mind you, there were 25 candidates for the interview, and they were all mostly journalists, or
Oh,
either
really?
from the Star, Sun, sorry, that time there was no Sun, Newsweek Times, Parita Harian, and all that. But they offered me the job. It's definitely a big plus point for me. But I think if I can do it, anyone from any industry can do the same thing. And that's it. And from then on, I've never looked back. I spent 7 years working with ISIS Malaysia. Then my first biggest jump was to MIMOS Malaysia. MIMOS is also a GLC, which is that's where Jarring started, the first internet service provider. From MIMOS, then I went to Alam Flora, which is where I became literally a name a name related to rubbish, by the way. My parents were very, I must share this, my late parents were very displeased where I was working because they say, how can you work with a rubbish company? But mind you, that's the best place of work because it just gave me greatest autonomy to do things from a consumer or a user perspective. So I think after that, I went to several other places and I'll take you through late. I mean, I'll come to you later on that. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. And so, what are the fun parts of being in PR?
I think the biggest fun is to meeting people because if you love people, if you enjoy talking to people, that was the biggest or the greatest fun that I had. I mean, I'm very fortunate to have met people like Henry Kissinger, Mandela, the greatest man, my idol. Margaret Thatcher, the former foreign minister of Vietnam, Nguyen Cô Tak, Prince Sihanouk from Cambodia, Singapore's greatest, I think he is a policy analyst today, ambassador, Kishore Mahbubani, of course, the Singapore Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. And locally, I have worked with our Prime Minister's office because ISIS comes under the PMO with Tun Dr. Mahathir. Tun Hussein, by the way, was our chairman in ISIS. So I've had a glimpse of the great leader. Tun Abdullah Ahmad Badawi, Tun Ghaffar Baba, the late Tun Ghaffar Baba. Of course, the PKR current president, that is Anwar Ibrahim, he was then the deputy prime minister. And of course, many of the corporate people, people like Tansri, Ananda Krishnan, who not many people get to see or even get to talk to him. Tansri, Francisco, these are the names of Malaysians business. And this is my biggest gift. I mean, the gift that I derived from working from ISIS. And of course, the travel. The travel is another component that is very useful because that gives you a total different dimension of culture, lifestyle, habits, government styles, and all that. So the biggest thing is meeting people.
Yeah. That was very interesting, meeting all these world leaders. And I think it must be a very, very memorable moment for you. Now, let's talk about not so fun part about the job.
I think when you write, writing, by the way, writing, speaking, and the ability to present yourself in a not in a not in a manner to kill someone, but in a pleasant manner. So when you take writing, for instance, because writing has got many styles,
Mm-hmm.
and when you have a boss who has got a different style compared to yours, so that is something really challenging in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had bosses, CEOs, where he will only read the first line. I will not mention his name; he's still around. He'll only read the first line, and that's it. Ravi, here you go. Uh, so you have to rework the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
There are also other bosses, of course, who will say, "Hey, the fifth para can be altered, the ninth para can be tweaked." There are also that type of bosses, but I think writing is very important, and you must be able to suit not your style, but the style of your bosses. That's very important. Two is again, it's about time, because sometimes when you are involved in events, because PR has got a very important component called event management, where
Mm-hmm.
there is no day, there is no night when it comes to events. The event can be a simple program where the Prime Minister comes and delivers something, but the night before or the night before for the few days, like 3 nights, you have to stay up and work. And I remember working until 5:30 in the morning, throughout 5:30 in the morning. 5:30, I have to go up and shave because, men must shave. So run up, shave, put on your whatever blazers and stuff, and 8 o'clock sharp, you are at the conference hall waiting for your guest to arrive. So that's how challenging it is. Other than that, I think it's about also keeping yourself abreast, because this is a knowledge industry. You must know what's happening so that you can have decent conversation with the people that you meet. So knowledge is very important. Continuously, you must what do you call acquire. Two is the odd hours, and three is of course the writing style, because
Mm-hmm.
that matters a lot to your bosses. Yeah.
Okay. So, to a large extent, you need to know, you need to understand your boss's writing style and
Yeah.
try to write speeches somewhat like what he or she would write, isn't it?
Quite close, yeah. Because they have their own style, yeah.
Yes. Okay. There seems to be an evolution in the terms because it started from PR and then it went on to corporate communications and now it's strategic communications. What's
Yeah.
the story behind this?
Actually, public relations started all because, of course, there are many doyens like Sam Black who says that it's about dealing with your stakeholders, what you call, in a cohesive and sustainable manner. Then came corporate communication. Corporate communication is about when companies wanted to go beyond their shores.
Mhm.
They want to go become an MNC or become a global player. That's when we thought of corporate communication. But today, we're talking about strategic communications. Even in corporate communications, there is an important component called advertising, marketing. But in corporate communication, you can work with them in isolation. That means you have a corporate com division, you have a marketing division, or you may even have a advertising department or agency supporting.
Mhm.
But under strategic communication, all these things are coming together. It's
Mhm.
an amalgamation of all these key tasks where we talk about strategic communication, where we approach communication in a bigger sphere, thus achieving greater objectives for the company. Because companies today are very diverse. At one point, they'll be doing something to do with what you call trading. The other side, they could be in finance. The other side, they could be in manufacturing. The other side, they could be in real estate. So, in order to manage all this, what you call functions of companies, you must make sure that as a comms person, you must have all this support within your department to provide a good support to the bigger picture of the company. So this evaluation is very positive. This is a must in fact, because if we don't evolve, um, they'll say, hey, we don't need the PR guys, we can do without them. We can just ask the marketing guys to come in. So this is a very, very vital thing today to make sure the amalgamation is going to help in facilitating a greater benefit to the companies.
Okay. And what are the responsibilities of a PR person?
I think it's no more the gin and tonic guy that, or the girl, or the beautiful face, or the Coca-Cola shapy women and all that. That's all gone. Today, it's about content and delivery. Content can only be derived if we understand the stakeholders well. In my case, I've got a very unique way of doing comms for all the places that I work and are working. The first very important thing is to identify your key stakeholders, because there could not, usually people say customers. Even in customers, there are direct, indirect, there are this men, women, children, the senior citizens. There are many, many players, even in a very small ball called customer. Likewise, the management. The management, we have board, senior management, the operation level, then the staff. So what I do is to itemize every level of a stakeholder so that we can understand their needs, number one. Number two is to do a gap analysis. That is, once you have known your stakeholders, you must find out what is the issue that, or what is the issue or the advantage that we have with the particular stakeholders. For instance, the board. The board meets twice, maybe 6 times in a year. That means once in 2 months.
Yeah.
What is their requirement? What are the issues they don't know? So you must find out from the board by talking to the board of directors. They might say, hey, I don't know what's happening in the operations. Hey, I don't know what's happening in the marketing. So there must be a mechanism to connect the board and even the department so that there can be a passage, meaning it can be in the form of an online newsletter, or it can be a hard copy newsletter depending on the profile of the board, or there can be a weekly update to the board in a very informal manner, not because board has got no time to read something 12 pages or 30 pages, maybe one pager kind of a thing. Of course, with the consent of your CEO is very important. You cannot straight away communicate with your board without the CEO's knowledge. Yeah? So what I'm saying is, once you know the gaps that is existing between you and your stakeholders, then you can devise programs to overcome or to bridge the gap. That's the most important thing in public relations, where you must identify, bridge the gap, and come up with the programs. And of course, to do this, you must have the budget. Because the budget is the key thing, because sometimes you'll say that you want to have a fantastic corporate video, or you want to have multiple services of yours done in a YouTube. All this requires money. Or you want to say that you want to go, you don't want to do TV and radio advertising. You want to go digital advertising. Or you want to find, you want to go straight to Facebook, or you want to go straight to LinkedIn, or you want to go to any other social media. So all this requires budget. So that is another so you must be a person who has got this helicopter view about what is communication all about, to whom are you talking, what are the issues prevailing, and to overcome the issues, what programs can we bring in, or programs, campaigns, or activities so that there is a bridging. Once you bridge yourself or the company with the stakeholders, the rest is, you know. And of course, in this, what you'll achieve is good communication brings better reputation, greater image, and higher service level, and better understanding. That's when everybody in an organization will look. Yeah.
Oh, and so it seems like public relations deals mainly with internal stakeholders as well as the public, as in the consumers, the customers, right? Both
Thank you
parties.
so much for, yeah. You must understand when I say stakeholders, rightly you said something. One is internal, which is internal and external stakeholders are the big, broader groups of stakeholders. In that, we have primary stakeholders and secondary stakeholders. Primary stakeholders are stakeholders who have got direct, what you call, influence to the profit of the organization, whereas secondary stakeholders are who have got indirect. The secondary can be the NGOs, the community-based organizations, or it can be the what you call the universities, education institutions. These are all the indirect or the secondary. Whereas primary will be employees, union, management, media, what you call financial institutions, uh, all the government agencies or government. These are the critical primary stakeholders. You must be very, 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 very clear with these stakeholders of yours in order to communicate effectively. For government, you need a different language altogether. You may have to use, if you're in China, you have to use Chinese, Mandarin. If you're in Malaysia, you have to use Bahasa Malaysia. If you can't just assume that everybody understands English. So once you know your audience, you must again tailor make the programs accordingly with the right language, of course.
Okay. Right. Now, I think this question would be in a lot of students' minds, like what are the essential skills and competencies required to do or to be a good PR?
You must be an extrovert. Number one, extrovert means, there's the opposite of extrovert is introvert. Extrovert means you must be the bubbly person, not necessarily noisy. Bubbly, but not necessarily noisy, but cheerful, looking forward to meet, looking forward to talk, talking to people, looking directly into their eyes. That's a very important thing. Yeah? Next is you must be a great listener. You must listen to people's views. You must give your ears to them so that you will understand what they're coming to tell you. And next thing is you must be a great storyteller. Uh, Everything has to have an introduction, body, and a conclusion. Everything, literally, so that the listening party will understand what you say. And you must be good in speaking. So if you're ever aspiring to be a PR practitioner, first become a Toastmaster. Go and register yourself in any Toastmasters organization or Toastmasters International, and then you can then say, okay, now I'm 50% ready to become a PR practitioner, because you never know when you're required to hold the mic and speak. I still remember the first event I was asked to MC was an event where it was Dr. Mahathir's dinner. And imagine that I'm running like a madcap, organizing the whole event. And suddenly the MC assigned or the MC identified didn't show up. And that's so you have to tap in. And you can't say, oh, no, that's not my job. But if you are a PR person, you must be ready to hold the mic and speak sensibly any time of the time. Next is, of course, writing. Writing is a must. You can't run away from that. And also a great handle today for all the young people out there. I think social media is the new tool or the new device that has become so handy for many organizations.
Mm,
So in social media, you must be first familiar with the platform and how to use it.
mm,
You can't use old ways in managing new social media. Social media is a new kind of animal which can work in your favor or which can work against you. And above all, be professional and be humane,
mm,
because uh, you must understand that uh, publics, we are dealing with human beings. We're not dealing with any cat or any dog, though it's nice to deal with them because they'll never say anything in return. But you must understand, these are people who are intelligent, clever, expectations are very high. Their perception of you, the moment they see you, oh, this fella, that kind of a thing. So you must be able to manage this kind of challenges.
mm,
In order to manage these challenges, which are soft skill rather,
mhm,
you must have the, the elements built in you. That is, you must be able to speak well, write well, know what are your mediums of communications very well, and above all, good listener
mhm,
and a good storyteller.
mhm.
And of course, it's about honesty ultimately. You cannot think that people don't know what you're doing or otherwise.
Yeah. I think when we talk about PR, we kind of associate it with being very sociable, very friendly, and people say, "Oh, his PR is very good." This refers to anyone and everyone, but when they say, "Oh, his PR is good," that means he's got very good reputation. He's a very friendly person. So I think the word PR is used to mean someone who is extrovert and friendly. What is your advice if someone is shy and introvert but wishes to be in PR?
Yeah. I think to answer your first question, I mean, if somebody is good, they say his PR is good. I think it's not PR. I think he is a good human being. It's rather human relations than public relations. Because when you are communicating well, it's about yourself, being a pure human or true human, talking
Mhm.
sincerely to somebody. That's not PR. That's actually human relations. So, but of course, that's my take on it. Because the other thing is, from an introvert and you have a desire to become a PR practitioner, by all means you can, because I was an introvert. It's my wife who told me I love you before I told her I love her. So, because I was an introvert, I was very shy. I was very shy. I don't like public meetings. I'm very quiet. But what changed me was Toastmastering. I tell you, I still remember when I was given the first assignment about myself. It wasn't easy at all. I was drenched in an aircon room when my first assignment was myself. That really developed my skills. And once you can meet people
Mhm.
in public, whether it's one or 100, when you can hold your audience, your you will never be any more an introvert. You'll become an extrovert. Once you ooze with a lot of energy, wanting to know people, the turf is yours. So, number one is making sure you train yourself and be conscious. Be conscious that I'm an introvert. I must
Mhm.
change. And
Okay.
how you want to change is very important by getting into, because there are many organizations available today. And I recommend personally the Toastmasters International is the cheapest program but the most professional program that can help you to become a better orator, speaker, and a communicator too. And number two, develop your humanity skills. I mean, we all were taught this by our parents, but I think you must work on it. you must show true love, true affection, not only to people or to beautiful ladies or good looking men, but to even animals,
mm,
even cat or a bird or a dog or anything that you see, because we must show love. Because once you become colorless with love, the rest is, I don't want to sound like a Swamiji here, but love matters the most. Because when you're sincere, when you're honest, when you have become like the way I treat an intern, I am one person who believes that every intern must be given a lot of time because we were once an intern in our lives too. But I wasn't treated very well by many people because everybody says they are busy. But I'm one man. If there is a letter saying that I'm going to they want to come in, I will make sure I meet them first. I'll talk to them, discuss with them the issues, what they want to do. And there are many interns of mine who have become my staff,
mm,
not because they have no other place to go, but I found them to be really good, and so, selfishly I kept them to myself. But interns are likewise, I'm showing about how you must show your energy or
mm,
your love in the right manner so that the profession will improve.
mm,
So you cannot be so much about being I, but I think it's better to become we. When you become we,
mm,
you will become from the I, the introvert, to become the E, the extrovert, or the, you can spell the word W, word means even better. It's something about saying that you want to be really a people's person. So there is a lot of hope for anybody who is an introvert today
mm,
to embark into calculations. No issues.
mm. Okay. Um, you mentioned the word communicating, communications, writing, speaking. So I believe English is a very important language in public relations. Um, how important is it in PR?
Malaysia, although the government language is Bahasa, corporate sector is still driven by English. So you must ensure that you have a fairly good control or command of the language, because the word that you speak and the letter that you write makes or breaks, because it has got a permanent impression
Mm,
of you in the lens of somebody else.
mm,
Because today everything is based on perception.
yeah.
If the perception of people is going to say, hey, this guy can't even speak a word well, what more do you expect from him? That's
Mm,
it. So English is very important, somebody as you said.
mm,
It's very necessary, and please master it.
mm,
Don't take it, light or easy. Likewise, Bahasa Malaysia too in Malaysia,
mm,
because we are dealing with the government agencies, the government departments. You must. And if you think you don't have the skills, there's no excuse for anyone to say that you can learn. We
mm.
all can learn, you know, from anybody. So
Yep.
it's very important.
And just now earlier, you mentioned about communicating with the stakeholders, including the top management of the company. So I think as a PR person, you should also know how to speak to people at various levels, know what to say, know how to say it. That is very crucial, isn't it?
Yeah. I think whether the CEO or the gardener or the person who brings your coffee or tea in your office,
Mm,
you must make sure that you are approachable
mm,
and amiable to everyone. Because you can't treat your CEO with great respect and treat the tea lady or the coffee lady or even the janitary workers in a very inhuman manner.
mm,
So I think it's very important to give respect to every human being in the same way that you want to be treated by the others. So communication does not have any status, Of course, if you see a dato, you must say dato. If you see a Tan Sri, yang bahagia, yang berbahagia Tan Sri. Or if you see an ambassador, Your Excellency or the Honorable, likewise, if the person is an ordinary person, you don't know him, I think it's best you use the Mr. or Miss or Mrs. Or the worst, if it's an elderly person, auntie or uncle, because that's the best way to reach to people.
Mm-hmm.
You can't treat, I've got a very obvious weakness in me, that is remembering people's names. So in all the institutions I've worked, I always call every lady a dear. So it's not easy if you're a married man and when I was newly married, when I and my wife went out for a dinner, so my colleagues were there and I was calling everybody dear. Then my wife came home and asked me, hey, how come you're calling all the girls dear? I said, I don't remember their names. So that's the best way. So, but this may not work with every other wife or every other husband. Eh? Be mindful, but the fact remains, be sincere. I mean, this dear doesn't connote anything other than showing respect to the
Okay.
person. That's about it. Yeah.
Okay. In your current role as the GM, General Manager of Strategic Communications, what do you do?
I'm the advice or the counsel for my management in the areas of communication, in the areas of media, in the areas of social media, and of course, in the areas of competitors, or even in the areas of politics, what is happening in the bigger picture,
Mhm.
whether what you call the prime minister or his team of people and all these kind of things. The other one is what you call stakeholder management, very important because stakeholders, as I told you, we pay a lot of attention to all the stakeholders in the organization and outside. Media relations, complaint management,
Mhm.
reputation management, and CSR. This is where I provide my counsel, my leadership, and advice to the management.
Mhm.
So that's my daily function in my office. And I've got a team of 10 people
Mhm.
who are very good, who are very dynamic. Not because they're under me, they're good. They're all very good. And I'm lucky to be with them in this company.
Okay. I'm sure working here for a very long time in PR, you have some really great moments. Could you share what are the best moments being in PR?
I think personally, I was given the best outstanding PR practitioners award when I was in Alam Flora.
Mm.
The other one is when I became the fellow of the Institute of Public Relations Malaysia. Two, three is the last year I became the fellow for Public Relations Network within the ASEAN region. And the other thing is, I'm not a journalist by training. I'm a communications man. When I was invited to by Malay Mail to write my first column, it was a fantastic feeling. The moment I finished my Malay Mail contract for almost about 2 years, the Star invited me. That was another great moment. And now, after Star's contract, I was invited by Bernama.
Mhm.
And now I'm also writing for a Chinese newspaper, which is Sinchu Jinpo. I think these are the great moments that I really enjoyed
Mhm.
being in the PR fraternity. And the other thing is, I'm in the Council of Public Relations in Malaysia, where I get to what you call play an important role for the industry. And the other academic element is I'm the IAP member for Taylor's University, focusing on public relations module. And I get to go to the university once a year to advise, counsel, and provide direction for the team.
Mhm.
These are the good moments or the best moments, as you said, me being in the industry.
Mhm.
And the other thing is, my greatest happiness is about, you see, I always felt that the waste workers in most of the countries over the world have been a group of people who have been totally ignored. But during my time with Alam Flora, with the help of the CEO then, Mr. Mohammad Siraj. We managed to bring the waste workers to the limelight. I think we were one of the few who brought a program where you evaluate your waste worker who's working near your house.
Mm.
And we'll give you a form. You fill up. Find out from him what's his name. Or suppose he says, my name is Ravi. Fill up Ravi's name. Put his IC number and send it to Alam Flora. So like that, we ran the campaign for 4 years rather, 4 consecutive years. And we had, of course, Alam Flora is only operating at that time. It was only Kuala Lumpur, Putrajaya, Kuantan, yeah, Selangor, um, and Kuala Lumpur. That's about it. Yeah. But we had applicants coming from Sabah, Sarawak, other parts of Perlis, Kedah,
Mhm.
Penang, to say that how much they love. And we made it a point to award all. And we brought the waste workers to a five-star hotel. So, very honestly, I saw this. There were some people who were so happy or who were so new to the idea about mixing your tea. In the hotels, they give the tea, then
Mhm.
they have the creamer, sugar. Uh, there were some who don't even know how to mix it. I mean, that really gave me a lot of course, I mean, it's very unfortunate that here we are. We have been enjoying this kind of things. For you and for most of us, it's normal. But
Mhm.
for them, they didn't know how to do it. So
Mhm.
when they were brought to a hotel, they were even reluctant to go to the toilet because they were so shy. And what more when we had them, the Minister of Housing, I forgot his name. Oh my God, the famous guy. He was the VIP who gave all the nominated wasteworker
Mhm.
500 ringgit cash, a big plug, and a certificate. And it was done in a hotel, five-star hotel, and then the workers were delighted. And one worker to note is that the late Tan Sri P. Ramlee's son. Tan Sri P. Ramlee's son was a waste worker working with Alam Flora in Kajang for till he retired. Though he had many opportunities to work in many other institutions, he didn't want to go. He said, I just want, his name is Sazali, by the way. He worked with us uh, and he was so thankful. He said that only my father has seen all this. I've not quite seen, but this is a real honor for me. So, this is one happy moment of my life because I think that made a lot of difference for the waste workers. You know, yeah.
Yeah, I think like for yeah, for like what you rightfully said, for you and me, we take it for granted having or dining at five-star hotels. But for these people, it's a big
Yeah.
recognition, right? It's a big honor to be there and to be in the midst of all the VIPs. I think that would have been a very memorable moment for them. Yep.
It was such a fulfilling moment for me. It's so nice. Nice. Yeah. That was
Yep.
my highlight of my career. Yeah.
So I think to a large extent, the PR team can come up with really meaningful events like this that can add value, add meaning to the lives of not only the top people, but also to the real frontliners like this, right?
Absolutely. Because you are not just supposed to bring value to your company or your senior management. I think you remember your stakeholders. You can bring greater value to your stakeholders and especially to those people who have been ignored or who have been taken for granted. That's why I say the waste workers are seen as wasted workers. They are not. They are the people who are keeping us healthy and sober. If they're not there for a month, we are done. Imagine where are we going to throw our waste?
Yeah.
So and waste is very obvious. Huh? It's not like indoor water which is under. There is liquid waste that is under, which is not visible.
Mm.
But waste, solid waste is very, very obvious. And it makes a lot of difference. cities are known or remembered for cleanliness.
Mm.
Singapore is known for its cleanliness. Why? Because there is very few or no solid waste seen anywhere. But Malaysia, we are not because we are very easy.
Mm.
And it's because of various reasons, just not because the waste worker is not doing their job. I think they are, but it's because people take them for granted and we don't appreciate them. Yeah.
Okay.
Over to you.
Yeah, the next question is, when we talk about PR, I believe we have in-house PR and also PR consultancies. What would be the
Right.
biggest difference between these two?
I think in-house PR group of people who are hired by a company to manage their daily and ongoing or any new challenges they face. But if if the company wants to bring in an external consultant, it's usually during a moment of a branding pain,
Mhm.
or it can be during a moment of crisis. Because these two elements are elements which are not so much found within the employees of a company.
Mhm.
And in financial PR, this is even more obvious, where not many institutions have financial PR experts,
Mhm.
people who can read the ledger or the annual report and come up with a good report or a good program for financial institutions. So, consultants are necessary, and of course, they are very vital too because they have got special niche or special skills in them which can bring tremendous value. So, to select one, you must know why you need them first because they are not cheap.
Mhm.
They're not cheap. So you must be very mindful when you recommend to your management or to your board. You must tell your board why are you bringing them. Board's first question is, you are a PR person yourself. Why
Mhm.
can't you do it? That's when you must rationalize and say, these are the following reasons that we need PR or external PR help. So uh, I'm not saying the in-house PR is not trained or not skilled, but there are areas like financial PR, branding, and
Mhm.
crisis communication, or even now the new media, social media, which requires the expert's viewpoint. Because today, with the digitization and the what's it called digital analytical something about how they.
Analytics?
So analytics, yeah, is very important to make sure that you bring the right consultants to help you.
Mhm. Okay. And what would be your advice to those who are currently pursuing a degree in PR or those who wish to do a course in PR? What's your advice for them?
I think the world is moving. Of course, suddenly we have moved into Corona, very unfortunately, which has put a little stop to everything that we're doing. I think it's very important uh, for young people to pursue a degree in PR because we need new ideas because we are no more just talking about automation. We're talking about artificial intelligence. AI is the new thing. And for the new thing, we must come up with new programs, new activities, and new skills. So it's very important to what do you call acquire skills in this area so
Mhm.
that we can provide support. Because when the industry changes, as PR practitioners, we must also have the know-how, the skills, and the knowledge to support the changes. Otherwise, we'll become a sunset.
Mhm.
So to be a sunrise or to be the morning sun rather, you must continuously ensure that you acquire all the skills necessary and don't stop at degree. Go and do your masters, and if need be, go and do your PhD because there are so much to learn, so
Mhm.
much to share, and so much to give.
Okay. You have had interns working in your department, and
Yeah,
what's your feedback or what's your observation on them? What are their strengths and what are some areas they can improve?
sure. I think the interns that we come, whom I'm working with or who are working with us, have got one serious issue called language. English, not because of their problem, because of their respective university or the medium of instruction of schools. It's a pity that the child goes through 15 years of Bahasa Malaysia, another 4 years of university, and suddenly she comes out to work. There you are, you're waiting with your super good English, talking to the child who's coming for an interview, and there you scare them off actually, and then suddenly they have to go back and read and all that. So it's very, it's rather sad, but that's the reality today. So I think as a student or as an intern, you must brush up your English depending on the company. Of course, if you're joining the government service, you're okay with Bahasa. But if you're joining the private sector or the private sector, or the what you call public listed companies or MNCs, you must make sure that you have strong language. Number two, you must have this willingness to ask questions. The interns I see, they are more familiar with the computer and they're very familiar with the keyboard.
Mm,
They are not familiar with the eyeballs. They
mm,
don't want to look up into your eyes to talk to you. They're shy. I wouldn't want to say they are introvert. They're shy because they feel it's better. She asked me, may I know where's the toilet, rather than just coming and asking me where's the toilet.
mm,
So that is how they've been trained, or maybe that's how they've been practicing this. But I think this must change.
mm,
Language, the hunger to ask questions,
mm,
and you leave your keyboard and talk to people. Go talk to them. Go talk to your colleagues. Find out. And the other one is what you call be proactive.
mm,
If you think you hit a problem, don't sit at your desk and think, oh my God, what am I to do? No, come, ask, because nobody has the right to, nobody will ever going to reprimand you for asking a question.
mm.
So come and ask. And of course, the interns today are very good in social media. That is their biggest strength. They are very familiar. They can catch up very fast. They are very what we call um, the absorption power is damn good compared to somebody else. So these are the points that the interns must consider.
Yep. And I was in PR before, and I remember those days we used to it was with the consultancy. We used to prepare speeches for some MD or speeches for some countries, right? And we need to check word by word, otherwise it gets thrown on our face. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we had to be very meticulous, very careful with our work. I think that's also part of the job. You have to make sure really everything is done properly, especially if you are in a consultancy. I think they expect
Oh yeah.
you to be top notch because they are paying you. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And also I think in terms of technology, things have changed quite a bit. Like those days we used to prepare the press releases, and of course when you know two or three languages, it will be good, you can do the translation yourself. And then we used to send it to all the major newspapers, all the dailies, and hope and pray that they turn up at the press conference.
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
we had to call and
Yeah.
literally beg them to come
Oh
and
yes.
cover the events. But I think now with you have social media, you don't. I mean, how what is the view now? Do you really need this people from the press to come and cover the event, or you can actually use social media, use Facebook, Instagram, and publicize your own events? What do you think?
I think some of the industry has evolved. Uh, But still, the old practice of sending the media invites stays. The great practice of calling them still stays. But there is a balance today. There is a 50-50 distribution of uh, the responsibility of publishing given to social media, which can be done in-house, and another 50% to the media. And media too are very selective today. As you know, today it's for the whole NST group, there's only one guy. He does for Berita Harian, he does for Harian Metro. So is so is Star is only one. The Chinese media too. One or two guys come, they represent the whole group, and then they share the news. And of course, for the TV, if Burnama comes, all other TV stations may not come because they can share the feed.
Okay.
Things have changed today, but those days I know we'll have about 30 to 40 media for a press conference. It still happens for great VVIPs, and if the Prime Minister is saying something, it happens. But I think for companies, the point remains that we can distribute and select what do we want to tell whom. Suppose we want to do a feature on finance, then it's good to identify the age or focus Malaysia. If you want to do a social story, I think the best for English would be Star or Straight Times. Or if you want to reach out to the people in the rural area, then we can go to Harian Metro. So we can do the selecting. But with social media today, it just cuts across everybody because Malaysia's ICT penetration level is about 87% now, which is damn good, which means almost everyone is almost connected. So that's a very good point about using both media, social media and the traditional media. But some of the things have not changed. We still call the media. We will wait for them to come. It's nothing like seeing them in person. You know, the joy that you get when you see people whom you call has arrived to the press conference, oof, makes you so relieved.
I remember we even had to fax the invites to them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Those were the days, and wait until it's successful, the transmission is successful and all that.
Yes.
And of course, if the people from the press, they don't come the last minute, and we get scolded by the boss, right? Why
Oh,
didn't they
yeah.
come? I'm like, they've got some other events, but we get scolded anyway. So that was the joys of working, at a PR firm.
Oh, yeah.
One last question:
Yeah.
how can anyone,
Yeah.
viewers, get in touch with you?
Sure. I mean, my email is what do you call ravirknayaran@gmail.com. And my LinkedIn is Ravindran Raman Kutty, my full name. And if you're tweeting me, you can Twitter me, you can add Ravi R.K. Nair. And that's about it. Drop me an email anytime. I'm willing to take on questions. That is. And
So
thank you so much, somebody. Before you say your thanks, thank you so much.
yes.
It's a great joy, and I'm very happy that I could play this 0.001% to a fresh PR person or a fresh graduate who's entering the industry. Thank you so much.
Okay. I am very sure those who are watching this will find the information very useful. And thank you so much for offering to connect with them and to answer their questions. So if you have any questions, please get in touch with Mr. Ravi, and he'll be more than happy to answer your questions. So thank you, Mr. Ravi, for agreeing to do this, for your time.
Thank you so much, Sumati. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you to all the listeners and all the students.
And we'll meet again in another Together We Thrive series. Bye from me for now. Thank you.